Well, we've got somewhat of a different video here. This is a 2019 Ram 2500. This is my Sunday truck. We're going to pull the custom wheels off of it. We're going to put the stock wheels back on there. And I kind of like the blacked out theme, and that's what we're going to do to this truck here. So we're going to put a blacked out grill on it. We're going to black out the bumper, the name badges, the door handles, and the running boards. We're also going to add a set of fender flares to it, along with painting the stock wheels that came on it. So I've had this truck for almost 2 years now, and I kind of like the old blacked out versions of these vehicles that you see on the road. I always like the chrome, but just something about that blacked out look to them, and I kind of like that. So that's what we're going to do here right now. All right, we've got the tires all switched over. We got the stock tires on there, and we've got the badges masked off, and now we're just going to spray some black spray paint over the top of them, and that'll black them out. I covered up the red lettering on the 2500 badge, so we'll get that done up, and then I've got some different door handles that we're going to put on there, and we're also going to spray paint the running boards as well. Well, we are several days later, and I have to apologize. The earlier footage that I had of this process of changing the badges or painting the badges and doing the mirrors and whatever, I lost all of that footage. I had a corrupted SD card, so I didn't realize it till I went to edit that footage, and then I knew I was going to be several days later filming the rest of this, and I realized that that old footage wasn't any good. So we've got the black badges on here, the black wheel well flares, black running boards now, and what else have we done? Black bumpers, front and rear. Spray paint worked out really well. I do have to tell you that when I painted this emblem here, the 2 turned into a 3. It just happened that way. So this truck is now a 3500. We changed the coil springs out in the rear. We changed them over to leaf springs, and we went ahead and blacked out the wheels here as well. We ended up putting LED lights in it, front and rear, and we ended up adding a couple of cameras as well. So I wish I had that older footage. We blacked out the grill. What else did we do to it? I think everything else is, I guess we already talked about it. So, yeah. So we're going to throw the wheels on here in a minute, and once we get it down off of the jacks, I'll show you the interior. We changed over some of the items on the interior as well. We just kind of upgraded things a little bit here. And before I put the wheels on it, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply a fluid film to the underneath side of the truck. I've done that here a couple of different times now, and that stuff works really well. The undercoating products that the various companies sell, like Z-Bart, and there's a couple of companies that sell them, they're no good. And I'll tell you why they're not any good. It's a rubberized undercoating, and when that gets sprayed on, it's fine where it's covering up the frame. But if you get a little hole in it and stuff can get down in there, it can't get out. And then what that does is it starts to corrode the metal, and it doesn't actually break out until enough corrosion gets in behind that rubberized undercoating. In other words, in between the undercoating and the metal, and then that'll flake off, and you have a big brown spot on your frame. And what they'll do is they'll reapply it every year for you, and all they're doing is just covering that stuff up. I've only used fluid film for a couple of years now, and it works really well to preserve the metal. We started using it years ago on the Diller manure tankers, on the electric components that run the swing boom and whatever, and that has really saved the electrical connections and the various parts from getting all corroded up. So let's go ahead and apply the fluid film. We're going to use this, I would call it an undercoating gun, but it's actually a gun that Fluid Film sells. Jared bought this as a kit. He actually bought a 5-gallon pail. What do you remember what that cost? Had to be a couple $100, wasn't it? Yeah. This stuff, once we get the containers opened up, we'll show you what this stuff looks like. It almost looks like lard. And you can get this stuff in an aerosol can. And when you spray it out of the aerosol can, it's just a thin film. But we'll show you once we get these containers open. It's like lard. You can grab a handful out of the container, and you wouldn't think that this stuff would spray, but it ends up spraying through that little canister there. Now, some of these kits you can get the kits with several of these canisters, and you can fill several of them up and then just keep going at it as you're spraying, get one empty and go into the next one. Now, I've got this on jack stands. It would be a lot better to do this job on a car lift, but we're just gonna roll in underneath it with a creeper and just spray the bottom side of the frame, the body panels, the floorboards, and all that stuff, just to preserve some of this stuff. You know, you have these tie rod bolts and whatever. Now this all looks nice right now, but as the salt gets on there, that's all gonna turn right to brown. It's just the environment that we live in here. There's a fair amount of nice black paint on that support beam coming up front here, but they get all chipped up and they end up rusting, and we'll end up spraying fluid film inside this tube here. And then this has got the wheelhouse liners on it, but there's some cross members here that we're gonna reach inside and we're gonna spray those as well. I was gonna take these wheelhouse liners out, but it looked like it was gonna looked like I was gonna have more work into it than what it was worth. This truck also it's equipped with the fifth wheel unit in there, so it's got the extra framework, and it's ready to accept a fifth wheel, so that wasn't much to add that in the unit here. But as you can see, the name badges are black on the back of it as well. We changed this over to Laramie. It did used to say Bighorn right there, but we changed that out. And we got rid of the tonneau cover. We'll have to throw a new one on there, but as of right now, we've got that removed. So let's go ahead and get the fluid film sprayed on there. All right, we're ready to spray this. I covered the cab up with some plastic just so that the overspray doesn't get on the windows. I don't care if the overspray gets on the paint, it just washes off. But obviously, once that crap gets on the windows, it's gonna make it slimy. So this is what this stuff looks like. use the paint shaker to shake it up. You can use a drill with a whip on it. We've taken welding rod in the past to mix up paint with if you've got a cheap paint shaker. That works well too. However, if you buy this stuff in the 5-gallon pail, you're going to have to use a drill with a big whip on it. Welding rod won't quite work for that, but like maybe a piece of 1/4-inch ready rod or something, and just make a whip with it. So this stuff is pretty thick, and we're going to go ahead and apply this without thinning it at all. This material, you wouldn't think this material would spray through that gun, but it actually sprays through quite well. The hardest part of this job is getting it from here into the little jar there. So I've got more product here than I need. I think maybe 1 gallon is sufficient enough to do a truck this size. Maybe 1.5 gallons. We'll just see how much it takes to get this job done. This is running pretty good here. What I did with this is I put this gallon jug into a hot pail of water, and this has actually made this stuff so it's, you know, it's pourable, and that jar is about loaded. Now this one I did not heat up, and I don't know, yeah, this one won't even dump out. So I'm gonna have to put the top back on this one, and I'll put it in this pail of hot water here, and we'll go ahead and heat it up. So we have that in a pail of hot water. Of course, the stuff is lighter than water, so it's floating. All right, so we're getting this job done. Now the slowest part of this job is loading this small container. If you put it in a paint pot or something, I don't know if it would push it through the hose or not, but that's the slowest part of this job. So we're just covering everything, and we're not doing any kind of a neat job here. We want to get enough of this stuff on there, and we just want to make sure that we get everything preserved this first time around, and then you know, we'll assure ourselves that we have enough on there. So we'll just do some spraying here. Goes on kind of thick, but it goes on there. We're putting on a lot more than we have to. Now you're going to be asking, you know, what can you put it on and what shouldn't you put it on? You can basically put it on about everything. But mainly what you want to do is preserve all of the metal here. So we're just going to get some on the drive shaft here. You really shouldn't paint a drive shaft because they are balanced, but this stuff is not going to dry, or it's once I go into driving it, what it'll do is it'll balance itself back out, because the stuff that's on there will just kind of fly off. But we'll make sure we get a bunch on here. Now the different critics out there might tell you, oh, you stupid fool, what are you doing the drive shaft for? Well, I don't know. Just because. Now, let's see if we can turn that some here. it won't let me turn it because I thought I could turn it anyway. Usually if it's in park, it'll just turn that opposite wheel. We will stay away from the muffler just because all it's going to do is just burn off. Get the heat shroud on the fuel tank here. We'll get up there on the fuel filter housing. I'm almost ready to reload here. We got our diesel exhaust fluid tank right there. Again, this job would be a lot better if I had a car lift, but we're just kind of rolling around here. I basically got everything up front. But what I want to do, we're just about out of product here. I kind of need my other hand here to pull the hose, and our gun is out. So we're going to go ahead and reload. I'm using this funnel, and we've gone through. There might have been a heavy quart in this one, and then I've gone through about 2 quarts out of the second one here, and we just kind of get the funnel lined up and kind of force the material into the jar here. Again, this stuff goes in like, oh, it's kind of like molasses. It pours about as good as ketchup. But alright, so we got that container loaded. And we'll start the process over again until we get everything sprayed here. Alright, we've got everything sprayed on underneath the truck. We went through quite a bit of product here. A lot more than what I thought I was going to go through. I had 3 gallons of product. Plus I had a partial gallon, so I had maybe 3 1/4 gallons, and I ended up using all of it here. So what I would advise doing before you go to spray this, get a 5-gallon pail, put your gallon jug in the 5-gallon pail, get that head up, and it pours like water. You've seen what that looked like here earlier when I poured it before I had warmed it up. So let's go ahead and roll in underneath the truck here. It's kind of hazy in the shop, but it's not too bad. We put a little bit more stuff on here than we probably needed to, but being that I had enough product, I ended up getting right after it. As you can see, everything is completely covered. I ended up doing the calipers. Got a little bit on the brake rotors, but that's all right. That'll burn off in there. Probably got a little bit on the muffler. Well, there's a spooge spot right there. That'll burn off though. It'll be fine. The only way you can not get the muffler is if you cover it, and that isn't any fun. You know, cover it with plastic. So as you can see, we've got everything covered. I did the transmission, the bell housing. I even went and got after a lot of the wire connector plugs. Like you got a lot of connector plugs on the back side back here. Oh, for your camera functions. There's a trailer harness plug right there. We went ahead and sprayed that. That'll kind of keep the corrosion out of it. Got the spare tire, which I should take the spare tire down out of there, because anytime you go to use them damn things, they don't come down anyways. And there's some more wire connectors up in there that I sprayed. And it's got this old man step on here that I ended up spraying the linkage on that too, just because it doesn't get used enough. And it's just a spot for all the salt and whatever to, how do you release that? There. So we got that up in there. Now we'll go ahead and we'll pull the plastic off. We're going to get these tires on there. And you can kind of see that there's some, well, a lot of it's moisture stuck to the plastic. But the truck's probably got some hazy overspray on it as well, but I'm really not going to worry about that. The main thing is I didn't want to get anything on the glass, which there's probably a little bit on there anyway. So let's go ahead, pull the plastic off, get the tires on there, and roll this out the door. Well, just like that, we got the wheels back on it. Got it back down off the jack stands and lowered down onto the ground. Well, that's the proper way to more or less rust-proof these vehicles nowadays. Don't get involved with the Z-Bart crap. It's snake oil, really. It does more harm than good. They say that they'll guarantee your vehicle, but they don't. Let's face it, who keeps a vehicle long enough anymore to take it to the very end of any type of a warranty that you might be able to get out of, say, Z-Bart or somebody? This is going to preserve it, and it does a good job. Takes a couple hours to do it. It's miserable work, but it's done. Now we'll go ahead and show you the interior here. This has got, we changed out the cloth seats to leather. They've got the Laramie badge on them. I had the cloth seats in here, but I got sick of the seat covers on there, so we changed things out here to the leather. So we'll just do a quick walk around. It's it looks like it has overspray on it, but it's just from the plastic adhered to the truck, and the truck was colder than what the shop is, and it's got a lot of condensation on it here. So that's why we're seeing this here on there. As you can see, yeah, those are the seats. All right, all kidding aside, folks, this is a new 2022 3500 HD or heavy duty Ram pickup. Don't go and try to cover up your name badges thinking that you can spray paint them and have them turn out like this. I was just kidding around. So as you can see, we sprayed the underneath with fluid film just to kind of preserve it. Now, we're in a goofy environment right now with the way these vehicles are nowadays. The last truck I had was a 2019 Ram 2500. I will have had that 2 years here in December. This is a 2022. I ordered this back the end of August. I ended up going with black again. Now, it was either that or a gray. I wasn't sure if I was going to go with the blacked out stuff, but I kind of liked it, and here we are. Well, we'll back up a little bit here. My brother ended up selling his pickup. He had a newer Ford pickup, and he got more than he paid for it. I kind of entertained the thought of doing the same thing, and I found out that I could have gotten, or I did get, exactly what I paid for the last truck I had. So this is the third Dodge truck that I've owned. I don't need a 3500. I don't even need a 2500, but I like the diesel engine. The resale value is high on them, and for what it has cost me to drive these trucks the last few years, it's been, you know, just a couple $1,500 to $2,000 a year to own a truck, and that's pretty cheap considering. Now, the first Dodge truck that I had was a 2014 2500. It was blue. It had the mega cab, had the Cummins diesel engine in it. I kind of wanted a Ford back then, but they were just coming out of their problems that were associated with the 6-liter and the 6.4. The 6.7 was brand new, but I didn't know if they were going to have any troubles with that one. You go back in the day of the 7.3 Power Stroke, and they were a killer motor, but Ford got tough with Navistar, and they kind of screwed things up there, and then they thought they could develop their own diesel engine, and they kind of screwed the pooch there. So the Duramax diesel wasn't that, I didn't really care for that back during that era, so that's kind of why I bought a Dodge truck, because of the Cummins diesel engine. It's a proven engine, and therefore that's why I bought a Dodge. It was the first Dodge I've owned. The 14 was, and now this is the third one. The 2014, I had some problems with the transmission. I ended up rebuilding that twice, and that's why I traded that one off for the 19. I didn't have any problems with the 19. The only reason why I traded the 19 off was because of the environment that we are in right now with these new vehicles. The used ones are worth as much as the new ones are, and I figured I would trade up. I essentially traded up 3 model years for not much money at all. Just the cost difference between the options that this has on it and what the other one had. Now, I went with the 3500 because of the transmission they offered on the 3500. I have the Cummins diesel engine in this, obviously, and this is the HO, the high output diesel engine. I didn't need any more power than what the other one had, but with the HO Cummins, you get the Ison transmission. It's supposed to be a better transmission than the 8R FE or 8R EF or whatever the heck it is. So I went with the high output, and the only way you could get the high output engine, you had to buy it in the 3500 chassis. Now, the one thing that the 3500 has that the 2500 doesn't have is it has leaf springs in the rear. Now, I don't carry anything in the back of the truck. I didn't carry anything in the back of the other one. I don't need a truck this big, but I kind of like the diesel engine. So this has the traditional leaf springs in the rear. It's got the coil spring up front, but one thing that Dodge and Ford are still doing with their heavy-duty trucks is they put a solid beam front axle in the front end. I don't know if Ford has gone to using coil springs or not. Years ago, when I used to own Fords, I bought the 1-tons, and they had leaf springs in the front end, and I bought the 1-tons because I liked the single mono beam in front instead of that goofy IFS suspension that they were using on the 1/2-ton and the 3/4. So I ended up getting, this is the Laramie Package. It came with a couple of more options. It came with the fender flares. You get some better lighting and better headlight, tail lights, and a few goofy cameras and whatever. and I wanted the leather interior. The last truck I had was a Bighorn. The one prior to that was an SLT. Loaded with options here. We'll go for a ride here in a minute. We'll just kind of talk a little bit about the interior here, or the actual Laramie package, and then we'll go for a ride in it. But a few more options as far as creature comforts. The dash is wrapped with a goofy stitch that's made to look like leather. The door panels are a little fancier and what have you. I wasn't sure about the big screen. I ended up getting the big screen. That cost a lot of money, but I figured it's just going to help in resale. But other than that, that is about it for this walk around on the outside. Dodge has like 2 packages above this. They've got an unlimited, and then they have like a Southern Truck Longhorn Limited or something like that, and I don't think you can get these up in this region of New York State. This truck was built September 2021. And like I said, I ordered this back towards the end of August, and no money changed hands or signatures or anything until this truck showed up here a week ago yesterday. The sales manager from McGuire Dodge here down in Syracuse, he emailed me the Monday prior. Maybe it was the Tuesday. He says, hey, your truck is in. Maybe it gets towards the end of the week. We can line up a time for you to come to pick it up. Well, we were shelling corn, and it didn't look like it was going to, it didn't look like we were going to have any rain days, and I really didn't want to take 3 hours to go down to the dealership and swap trucks out. So they ended up bringing the truck here to the farm, and it literally took me 15 minutes to just do a couple of quick signatures, and they dropped this one off and picked the other one up. And to be honest with you, I was kind of worried that we kind of agreed upon a price back in August, but I kind of worried that by the time this damn truck comes in, what happens if the used truck market, what if the bottom falls out and I don't end up getting the amount of money that they were talking about me getting when I kind of made the deal on this. So the Fords, I was thinking about a Ford. I was seriously thinking about a Ford this last time around, but it was like 12 to 16 weeks to get a Ford, and I figured sure as hell that the used truck market would definitely go into the toilet by the first of the year, or even February or so. So it is what it is. So I don't foresee myself trading this off in 2 or 3 years. I don't know how long I'm going to keep it, and that's kind of why I'm preserving the underneath. I thought I would have kept the other one. I thought I was going to keep the first one, but you just never know, and it's too late years down the road when you say, oh my gosh, I should have kept that, or I plan on keeping it, and it would have been nice to have preserved a few of these things. So we'll go ahead and get this out of the shop here, and we'll go for a ride in it, and we'll finish out this video. Well, we're going for a little joyride here. We just pulled out of the shop, and there's just a few differences between this truck and the other one. When you stomp down on it, this one has a little more of a delayed response to the fuel pedal. The best way to describe it would be like comparing an older John Deere tractor, like a 30 or a 40 series, compared to a newer one. When you engage the PTO, you can either slowly engage it and have that PTO just kind of slowly engage, or you can jam that PTO in, and it's 0 to nothing to PTO speed like that. That was kind of how the other truck responded to the fuel pedal. This one, I would say this is like a newer style tractor. When you engage the PTO, it slowly engages. Once the clutch is grabbed, then it gives it all what for. We'll go ahead and pounce down on the pedal here in a minute. This screen is a lot larger than my other truck. My other truck was only about that big. I didn't really need this screen like that, but I figured if I wanted it later on, it was going to be too late to order something like that. Now, I did want the leather seats because the last two trucks that I had cloth seats in them, and I immediately put seat covers on them because I just didn't want to stain the seats. Now, these seats here, you get anything on them, you can just wipe it right off of them, and I'm not going to bother putting seat covers on these at all. The gauge cluster is a little different than the other truck. Not much different. The RPM gauge and the analog style speedometer gauge is the same. Fuel gauge, depth gauge, and what have you. But the center message center there is just a little different. It has the cameras. It has a cargo camera that, if I could figure out where that is here, vehicle. So we've got the cargo cameras, the rear view camera right here. We could see the car that's in behind us, and then it has a cargo camera too. That would work good if you're backing up to a fifth wheel trailer or something. I did get the fifth wheel package with this. It has a bed mat in here now, but it does have the spot where it'll accept the fifth wheel ball, if you will, and then it has the wire hookup over there on the left hand side of the bed. So that is pretty much going to be it. We'll do a little step down here on the throttle pedal. It's nothing that's too awful exciting, but once it gets going, it goes. It just takes a little bit to get there. So it's just the way the transmission is designed. It is designed to accept these larger torque engines. Now, you cannot get these Dodge trucks, or any truck for that matter, with a standard transmission anymore. And this transmission will work good for the guys that are buying dual-wheeled pickups and they want and need something that'll accept a little more torque. So we'll go ahead and pounce down on the pedal here. So this is going to be right to the floor right now. See, it takes a little bit and then it just goes. This is only 35 through here, so I don't need to be doing 70, but you can see it just takes right off. After it engages, fully engages, then it'll go. So we'll do it once more here, once I'm sure we don't have any popos out. So we're doing 40. So I'll tell you when the pedal hits, and then I won't say anything more. Pedal down. So as you can see, it takes a little bit to get there, but once it's there, it almost feels like it's going to break traction after the fact. So that's going to do it for this video, folks. I want to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you at the next one. I know this wasn't much to do with farming, but it is what it is. It is November 14th today, and we couldn't combine any corn today because, you know, commodities is closed. So I had an opportunity to get this taken care of, and we got her done. So thanks again for watching. We'll catch you at the next one.